You are now listening to Stu and the Crew. I'm your host, Jonathan Stewart.
That's right.
Co-host here, Jeremy Kelley. We have the great honor to be sitting next to a legend, ladies and gentlemen. Eugene Robinson, safety, Pro Bowler, All-Pro, legend.
Man, that's a lot of football right here.
Okay, look, and I know we're going to be talking all day long, so I'm going to take out my tooth now so I can go ahead and
let's talk about the tooth.
Man, look, I got an implant that's going on and whatnot, and I'm on television. I'm like, look, man, I got this little retainer thing happening.
Yeah.
So I'm taking out my tooth so that I can go ahead and talk to my homies.
Yeah, I love
That's
it.
a football player.
That is a football player.
That's it, yeah.
You ain't a real football player.
Man, until you lose a tooth.
I want a safety that pulls out his tooth. That's what I want. That's
Or cut your finger off like Ronnie Lott, but go ahead.
Oh, man. Yeah, Ronnie Lott.
Yeah, man, Ronnie Lott.
Welcome, man.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Man, I love this. This is one of my favorites, man. Gino is awesome. We're glad to have you in the studio.
Yeah,
we're glad to have you in the studio, man. It's a lot of football right here next to us, Stu. You know that, right? It's a lot of football. That brother, they couldn't get rid of him.
You know that's right.
They called him the Roach.
Right.
It just kept coming back.
So, Gene, I always hear – so when it comes to your voice, when it comes to me being a Carolina Panther, you know, the Chicago Bears game, my rookie year, you called that game. And – you know, as a rookie, you go and watch your highlights and whatnot. And Eugene Robinson was calling the Chicago Bears game. And I just remember your voice. A star is born. A star is born. And I was like, man, that made me feel really good. Like he sees something in me. You've seen a lot of football, man. Like, what can you tell me as far as what you see in the Carolina Panthers right now?
Can I pause, though?
Okay.
Because I really, really want to take it back. When we say a lot of football, I want the folks to know what a lot of football is, okay?
Yeah. Okay.
All right? Because I'm gonna go through the resume, all right?
Right.
Repertoire.
The repertoire.
Straight out of Colgate University.
Yes.
Upstate New York. Ain't nothing in Colgate.
Nothing.
Nothing
Cold
in
up there. That's
well, we got a smart brother right here, though. Undrafted.
Yes.
Seattle Seahawks. 1985.
That's right.
Ooh, that Chuck Knox got you.
Chuck Knox. Ken
Knox.
Easley was a safety. Dave Brown. They had a secondary that was like second to none, and trying to make that squad was big.
That's right.
And I made it.
That's right. The Seahawks had some. They were doing it.
They were doing it.
Chuck Knox made some noise.
1985.
1985.
Right.
Kurt Warner was running back.
You want to know something?
What's that?
I was right down the street 2 years later. Fort Lewis, Washington.
Oh, really?
I was born.
Seattle native.
All right. I know that.
Seattle native.
So
Yeah.
I was born 1987,
Okay.
March 21st.
He quietly just like.
I know he slipped that in. I mean,
Yeah, Madigan Hospital. You been down to Fort Lewis?
dude, absolutely, man. My boy, one of my boys who was in the service, Michael Thompson, he was down at Fort Lewis, and so I would go down and visit him. And when I was playing for the Seattle Seahawks, so I would go down and visit my man all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, no doubt.
Tacoma,
man.
Aroma?
Oh, man, absolutely, man. That whole area, man. I've been up through Tacoma, that whole area, dog.
Okay.
Indeed.
11
Hilltop?
seasons. You had plenty of time to do it.
Man, plenty of time to go ahead and do it.
Hilltop?
What's that?
Hilltop?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I do it. Yeah, you know the spots,
Hey,
man.
boy.
Yeah,
He threw and
Gang,
through.
gang.
Gang, gang.
Yeah, dude, you better come correct up there. Yeah, you can't be messing
Look,
around.
11 seasons, 2 Pro Bowls in Seattle.
Yes, sir.
All right. But we can take it deeper than that, though, man. Second all-time leading tackler.
Yeah, your boy Wagner just
Second
clips me.
all-time interceptions leader as well, right? They got you
Yeah.
there too, huh?
I'm
But that
behind
stood
Dave
for a
Brown.
long time now.
Yeah, I've
That
been
stood for a
behind
long
Dave
time.
Brown.
That
Yeah.
stood for a long time. You go on, Seattle. You leave Seattle, go to the Packers. Another great team.
Yeah.
You just Super Bowls followed you.
Hey, but here it is. Reggie White called me up.
Okay.
Reggie White called me up and said, "Yo, G, man, you want to play for the Packers?"
Story alert.
I said, "Dude, I can't play for the Packers. You can't call me up, Reggie White, and ask me to play for the Packers." He said, "You need to play for the Packers. The Lord told me to tell you that you're going to be a Green Bay Packer." 2 weeks later, dude, I was with the Green Bay Packers. I kid you not.
Really?
Was
Yeah.
it like a
The Reverend.
decision that you made? Or
No,
was
it was.
something
I got. They had just picked. Dennis Erickson was coming on the scene, and he had what was that young man who played for him down in Miami? A really good safety, Darrell Williams. And so it was me, Darrell Williams, Robert Blackman. We're all on the same team.
Leroy?
Three good
Leroy out
safeties,
there?
right? No, Roy wasn't there, but 3 great safeties, and so one had to go. And so I was like, hey, if y'all want to cut me, if y'all want to trade me, I'm good. Reggie White was telling me that the Packers want me. And the next thing I know, I'm down the Green Bay Packers. 2 weeks later.
Wow.
So was that on the cell phone with the little With the antenna? He
Yes.
called you? Man.
Yes, that was when the technology.
Put in that quarter.
Yeah. Hey, get the payphone.
Oh man,
Put
get
the
on.
payphone. No, but
Hey, look.
what song comes to mind when you were picked up by the Seahawks? 1985.
Wow, 1985. Michael Jackson.
Say, Mike.
Michael Jackson is playing, and also who came out with Marvin Gaye came out with Sexual Healing at that time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Anita Baker was hot, and Anita Baker was a thing.
See, y'all don't know nothing about this music right
now.
now.
Oh man, Anita Baker.
Y'all don't know nothing about this.
She was absolutely bringing it. Freddie Jackson was singing, "You Are My Lady." Man,
Matt, you better cut that in.
Everything I need and more.
So back then, all the songs. Don't forget, everybody kind of almost listened to the same music too. It wasn't like it is so diverse. And then really hip hop was just kind of coming on the scene when I was like in college, 82, 83. I know it was Sugar Hill Gang, but it was King Tim III. It was groups that people don't even know that came out of New York. And so we were kind of riding that wave, and it was just all beginning to start.
Wow.
And I was part of that.
That late, I always said, man, if I could have played during any era, it would have been like that late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, dude.
Like that 90s, like when the hip-hop
It
era
was
was
hot.
coming on.
I wish I was an adult
You
when
know,
I was
we
in
had
the 90s.
the mesh jerseys, the fashion. Like, it was, the focus was switching to personality.
Yeah.
And it was just, it seemed like a great time. And then the league was
And
flooded with talent.
and
Like, you
don't
look at all the
forget-
Hall of Famers, right? Like,
But don't forget, the league didn't change really until Reggie White's the free agent thing that he had started. But it really started back in '85 when I was part of the NFLPA at that time when we were kind of fighting for rights.
Lockouts.
We had a
Took
strike
place
in '87. We had all that stuff that was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my mentor Dave Brown, who passed away. He had 62 interceptions. Great cornerback. He told me this. This was back in 1986. He said, if we get free agency, and we probably will, he said, it won't be in your lifetime. He said, but it might be in your son's lifetime or your children. He said, it's going to come a time a player's going to make $50 million signing bonus, $100 million signing bonus. He said, it's going to come a time because of free agency. I said, 1985, 86, I said, there's no way. I said, there's no way because you know what the average, salary is like you making $70,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Going to work at the freight yard
Yeah,
in the
it's
two
offseason.
jobs.
Yeah. The average was when I first came in league $62,000 for like a young rookie, and so from that standpoint, I couldn't even fathom that. And he was so forward thinking. He said, "Look, free agency is so important. If we get it, it's going to change everything." And look to this day right now, what we see with all the players going on, it's a blessing.
We drink from the wells we did not dig. man.
Absolutely, man, like
You
that.
know?
And standing on shoulders that I'm stood on the shoulders of guys who I don't even know who paved the way for me.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a
right.
great story,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Man. So you had some great mentorship, and again, as I said, the Super Bowls followed you, man. You went to Green Bay, you went to 2 of them, won 1, lost 1. Go to Atlanta,
Yeah, and another Super
right?
Bowl, man.
Another one.
Loved
right?
it.
So
We had a good team too, man.
That was a great
Man,
team.
That Jamal Anderson running
Terrence
back kind of reminds
Mathis.
me. Yeah, but kind of reminds me of you. You got that. He wasn't as fast as you, but he got that same
That
like
same
Smooth Cadillac.
smooth movement. Yeah, and if you hit him, I'm like, oh my goodness, this dude about to go ahead and
contact balance was
what?
off the chain, right? Who was the hardest running back to tackle?
Barry Sanders,
Barry Sanders.
bar none. Barry
Still
Sanders.
got your ACL.
Man, what? So my son is a big Barry Sanders fan, right? He loved him, and so I was playing for Green Bay, and so we about to play the game, and I said, hey, Barry, man, I need you to do me a favor. I said, my son loves you, man. He says, I can't tackle you, all this other stuff. Barry looked at me and said, I don't think you ever tackled me. I said, I pushed you out of bounds once, and that counts.
Yeah.
That counts as a tackle. I said, but would you go ahead and sign an autograph for my son? He signed an autograph for my son and whatnot. Really kind of took care of him.
Man.
But by far,
GOAT.
just that, dude, your peripheral vision and be able to see, and it's beyond what normal people, even defensive backs, it's beyond what we do. You guys see a field that I don't see.
Do you see a running back now that possesses the talents or close to the talents of Barry Sanders?
Man, I was watching Saquon, and I was sitting going, dude, man. I thought when Reggie Bush came on the scene, I was like, man, Reggie Bush, it was Marshall Faulk, Reggie Bush. I was like, oh, man, kind of reminds me of Barry. But when I was watching Saquon, I was like, dude, man, this cat got that.
Wiggle.
Man,
he's a cat. He's a cat.
Yeah, he just got that. He got that
instinct.
It really, when you think about all the great running backs in league history, Barry's certainly up there, like the top. Like and I say to me, he's the top because there really has yet to be anybody comparatively like him. People have had statistics. People have done, amazing.
And in the short period of time that he did it.
Right.
Exactly. 10 years.
100%. Have reached amazing feats and have done things. But when you think about running style, there really hasn't been anybody. And you're right. And I don't know if it's because of body type maybe is resemblance. But you look at the great Adrian Peterson. You don't compare him to Barry. You look at Marshall Faulk, I really don't even compare to Barry. A little different, just like, they were just giving it to Barry, running downhill with it. Marshall was catching the ball at the backfield. Marshall was moving. He was running around.
Kind of like
downfield.
McCaffrey type
Right.
player.
So, man, it's just special.
I'll tell you, if you guys go watch film of D'Angelo running, just running a beeline, and watching Barry Sanders running a beeline.
Yeah.
Similar.
Very similar.
Yeah. I can
Very
see that.
similar.
I could definitely see that.
I used to be like, man, like he runs very like he's running on water. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like however you're supposed to run on water, if that ever happens, besides Jesus. Like that's what it has to look like. Where you're not really hitting the ground, you're just floating.
Smooth.
But see, I remember in practice here when I was working with the Carolina Panthers earlier doing the broadcast, and I would watch you guys at practice, and I remember I seen you do it, and I seen D'Angelo do it, that y'all broke through the line, and y'all would run all the way down the field to score a touchdown. I'm going like this, why the heck are they running out to score a touchdown?
Yeah.
So that when they're running to score a touchdown, it's not unfamiliar to you.
Yeah, you're not trying to get caught.
And
I've been caught a couple times.
Yeah, but I didn't realize that you were as fast as you were. So I was like, dude, he's a big old dude, but I said, dude, he can run. He's legit fast, like legit 4.4, 4.3, 9, fast. I had no idea.
Moving and cruising.
I had no idea, dude. All that weight you got to move, hitting people. What?
Okay, so we asked you real quick again. In 16 seasons, man, and you didn't miss many games. 232 games out of 250 something. I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah,
that right there.
I love practice.
How did you do that?
That's NFL Iron Man.
What was your preparation? What was your injuries like? How did you nurse yourself back to feeling good?
As a safety during that time, because
a hard hitting.
You could come across the middle. I mean, Jokers didn't want to come across the middle when Geno was back there. I promise you that. But coming downhill when it's I formation, fullback. I know you probably met some cats in that hole now.
Oh my goodness, who comes to mind immediately is what's the dude? No, that too? He ran me over too. What's the brother from the Tennessee Titans?
Eddie George.
Eddie George. I remember Eddie George. We kind of locked eyes, and I looked at Eddie George, and he was about to come through the hole, and I had to cover that gap, that little cutback B gap, and I said I better get there before. And it was like a major collision.
6'3", 240.
Oh, my goodness. And so he went that way, I went that way, and we were talking one day off season. He said, hey, man, you remember this? I said, dude, you talking about that one play? I said, dude, that was one of the hardest hits I ever gave. He said, that was one of the hardest hits I got. And then I gave it back to him. I'm like, dude, it was like a hard hit.
That's crazy.
None of us gave ground on
that makes me think
real
of
recognized real.
That makes me think of a NFL Films clip with him and Ray Lewis.
Oh yeah,
they talk about not flinching.
Yeah.
Oh, he ain't flinching. No,
them cats built for it.
Man, he's a really good running back.
I loved Eddie George growing up. I loved him in Ohio State. Loved him in Tennessee. I remember when they had them jerseys, boy.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
Eddie George, he is huge.
Big dude.
How do you tackle a guy like him comparative to Eddie? I would say Derrick Henry in size, right?
Yeah.
This past weekend, we saw Derrick Henry get folded up by the young DB for Philly.
Cooper DeJean.
Yeah, Cooper DeJean.
Sat with the young man here in the Bronco Nagurski Awards.
Oh, wow.
Okay. But, like, where do you have to, like, prep for that?
Yeah, I catch him before you got to make that bend, and right at your solar plexus, you got to make that blend. And I want to make sure I get same foot, same shoulder before you make that bend. Because when you when you get all that mass and you get that shoulder the same down, you're going to end up running me over. Right. Most running backs will they'll run right through you. But if I can get to that position before you get to that position, I can win that battle. And so it's a matter of and I can't be afraid to get to that position. And I got to go ahead and be able to take it that we bounce off, or you win that one, or I win that one. But I'm going to go full speed and get there as fast as I can. And I got there before Eddie George did a little bit. So it was like, boom, and I got it. I did the same thing to Dorsey Levens. I did the same thing to Dorsey Levens in a practice. We had a live practice. So I'm coming through the hole. I'm like, okay, get there before he bends and looks at you and put that foot in the ground. And I caught him right before that, and I just dropped him like it was nothing. It didn't even hurt. I just dropped him because I got to the position that you need to get to make that really good solid tackle.
We know you were bringing it down there, man.
Yeah, so
that's how you played the game. That's what keeps you around for 16, man. That keeps you around for 16
But look, I got
years.
my thing. Kevin Mack ran me over. Leroy Horde ran me over. I got guys who ran me over. You know, this dude's who.
In the words of Marshawn,
I was just about to say,
you're gonna get got.
You're gonna get got.
You just gotta get yours.
Yeah, you're gonna get got.
Yep. That's right.
He's right about that.
Man. Now, Gino, you've been busy since you left the game, and you stayed connected to the game. I mean, you haven't really truly left the game. But as we were just talking about before we cut the mics on, that transition is serious. That transition requires community. That transition, and so finding that and being able to stay connected in a media aspect. You've been in broadcasting. You've done our Panthers Talk post game, which you still do to this day, right?
Yes, sir.
You just love some ball, man.
Yeah, Mike Haynes. Great cornerback. Hall of Famer. One day we were playing back in 1992. I'm playing against the Raiders. He's outside doing some promotion stuff. The game is over. He's doing his promotion stuff, and he's doing radio. And so he's one of my favorite corners. He's like 6'3". Man, he's just a great corner. Anyway, one of my favorite corners, I said, how do you stay on top? How do you stay connected? And he told me, when you leave this game, I need you to transition well. Make sure you're starting to do, if you want to get in radio, make sure you're doing radio now. If you're on television, make sure you're doing it right now, Gene. If you don't, he said, it'll pass you by and you'll look and say, hey, what happened to the time? So that was the reason I got involved in television and radio, is because I had a talk with Mike Haynes in 1992, who just dropped a little bug in my ear and said, if you want to do this, make sure you're doing it right now so that the transition is a lot easier when you leave this game. And it was. Man,
and he's a consummate professional. I've gotten to know Mike over the years. We see him every year at Super Bowl at the Merlin Olsen Luncheon. And you're right. He's all of 6'3" too, and you can see why he was just a dog back when he was playing. Man,
I got a question. You've been around football for so long, right? 20+ years.
Yes, sir.
I mean, if you count high school, middle school, when did you start playing football?
I started playing football in 1979. Yeah.
So
actually before that, but little league stuff, but I didn't count that. But high school, 1979.
For so long, you've been able to see this progression, change of the game in so many facets, right? The rule changes,
yes,
the dynamics of offense, defense, that goes through their changes every 10 years. How do you stay in love with the game for so long?
Wow, I think that's something, as we used to always say when we were kids, that I would play this game for free. Because we played Thanksgiving, you went outside, you grabbed the ball, and you threw the ball around, and you just grabbed your friends, and you just tackled. You just played football, and that was something that me, my cousin, my brother, I was a little dude, man. I wasn't. If you'd have saw me when I graduated from high school, you would say this guy should never play in the National Football League. I was 145, 50 pounds, dude, and I was like 5'9".
Graduating out of high school?
Out of high school, and I was a wrestler. I wrestled. I was a wrestler, and I was like, I beat the state champ. I wasn't state champ. I was like second in state, third in state, but I was that guy. And so because I could wrestle, people looked at me and go like this, that guy don't do that. So I walked on that Colgate. They was like this, what I do? I couldn't even bench press 145. I did like this.
You couldn't even bench press your own weight.
I couldn't bench press my own weight. I got it up, and the dudes laughed me out of the gym. It's like this. Now, I'm from the hood, right? Yeah. I'm straight hood. Yeah. I did just like this. Man, that's all right. Every last one of y'all cats. I'll see y'all on the field.
Don't make me go to the car and pop the trunk.
So I'm doing that right there. Like, I'll see him, and dudes are laughing at me, right? They're like, look at that skinny little dude, skinny little black dude. What are you doing? He's laughing at me. Get out of here, right? So I leave. I can't wait to get on the field and practice. I'm waiting. I got my stuff. I'm already suited up. I'm like, I'm ready, dude. Dude, I was lighting cats up, and it was going like this. That skinny little dude can hit like that because I'm out of the. I played football with my brother and my cousin, and in the hood, and we played on dirt, cement, bad grass. Yep. We played in the parking lot with the cars. We played everywhere, and so to me, I was like, "Oh, dude, you ain't coming from the stock I'm coming from. Yeah. I'm about to go ahead and let you have it." And so I've always had that mentality, and I've always loved the game.
So did you said you walked on, but were you recruited to walk on a football, or did you go for wrestling? Because I know Colgate has a great wrestling program.
Yeah, so I went for academics because I was third in my class. Okay. And no one knew anything about me wrestling or playing football. And I got challenged by one of their top recruits. He was a big running back out of New York. He was about 6'3", 225. We were at a fire drill, and we were talking football. And I said, "Yeah, I like to play football. I like to come out for the team." He said, "I'll run your little ass over, dude. You're too small." Yeah. He said, "You're too small like this." And he like,
yeah, good job.
Oh, good job.
Yeah, you remember that.
Oh, my God. Dude, I went and asked the coach the next day, "Head coach, can I come out?" And they was like this, "Hey, we're not too sure." And then one day they saw me playing football in the gym, catching the ball, and one guy threw the ball near the rim, and I caught it with one hand, like near the rim, like this.
Oh, that boy got bounced.
And they were like, wait a minute. That dude can actually, he looked like he knew what he's doing. So coaches came out to watch me play. Wow. Watch me catch a ball.
I want to be clear. This was like before the glass backboards. This was like
yeah.
Y'all had the wood.
I don't think we had a glass backboard, but it was
fancy.
Sort of, it was fancy, yeah. But they didn't know anything about me, and I just said, if I get a chance to go ahead and play, I'm gonna let everybody know what time it is. I mean, I know I'm small, but who cares? And so I didn't grow till I got to really in the pros. Yeah. I grew to be 6 feet and maybe 195, 200 pounds.
Right. Man, what was it like being in the NFL?
Great story.
During, the 80s, like just, the acceptance of us, people of color.
Yeah, here's the one thing that I think is odd that you guys would find crazy. People had jobs, like they had other jobs because football's so precarious. You didn't know if you were going to be on a team, and you get cut at any time. The ownership had so much control, and guys, what blew my mind. Guys used to smoke cigarettes at halftime. Right. Dude, I was coming and going, "Dude, are you smoking cigarettes at halftime?" Like they got other jobs, And so that was like a culture shock. And then for people of color of that time, it's like, it still hadn't broken through about the quarterback that we see, the quarterback being a little bit more prolific right now as a black quarterback, a person of color. Back then, James Harrison,
Doug
Williams. I can count them. I forgot the guy for the Chicago Bears. Yep. I could count them on my hand, and I was like, and they were like in backup roles at that. Yeah. And so for that standpoint, it wasn't the same. But the other positions, the receiver, the defensive back, this and that, we saw more integration even on the offensive line at that. Starting to see it at the offensive line at that time. You got to see that. Oh man, wait a minute. People of color are in every position, and at the most pivotal positions, because as a free safety, I'm not like the middle linebacker. My head coach down at head coach before he passed away, Tom Catlin in Seattle, he gave me the keys to his defense. Say, all right, run my defense, run it. So I had full control. If I want to change the play, if I saw something I didn't like, I'm changing it.
Right.
And y'all better know what my voice is. And if I throw a call up, hey, y'all better get it. And so people would follow me all because he gave me so much power to change, to do it. And I earned it because I knew
what you were doing.
I knew what I was doing.
That's right.
Yeah, you can command a room too.
Yeah, you command you command the room by your play. I was with Ken Easley, Dave Brown, all those guys back in there that day that I played with, the Ronnie Lotts. Man, they led by example, man. I mean, if I asked him, man, how do I hit the dude? He'll come up and hit you. Bah! You hit him like that. I'm like, okay.
That sounds like Coach Kip. Coach Kip so every year, man, we have a new guy, and we talking about blocking.
Yeah.
He said, I don't care how you block him. Just make sure you block him. Right? He used some other language.
That's it. That's Coach
But
Kip.
just make sure you block him. I don't care how you do it.
Right.
Just don't let him touch the quarterback.
Right.
If you only
Get you fired.
the key ingredient to blocking somebody is you gotta want to block them.
That's right.
They'll want to.
And that's the thing. And that's what we had. I think more so is because you don't know where you got to really play for your meal. You got to really take care of your family. And you're not getting paid like everybody else is getting paid. You're just not. You know, there's still that the little inequity that exists. And so you got to handle your business. You know, the academics of football, I made sure I knew it. Athletically, I made sure I'm not going to get tired. You ain't going to outlast me on the field. I'm not going to get tired. So I made sure that my body's in great shape and that I knew the academics of football. And the last thing is that I'm not afraid to make a play. Even if you dog me, even if you beat me, so what? You beat me. I'm not going to be afraid to make that play. And so
that's a
DB's want to.
Man, that's DB's short memory.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's that want to.
Man, let me. So we get you here in Carolina.
Yes, sir.
Which is home for you. You settled down. You loved it. 2000. Who would have been? Let's see. So in 2000, so you had, you was here with Mike Rucker. You were here
Mike
with
Rucker,
you had some guys.
Chuck Smith. Mike Rucker was very young. Chuck Smith, Mike Minner.
Mike was in year 2, so you would have had Mint.
So Mike Minner was in the secondary.
That's right.
I forget the dude from he came from the San Francisco 49ers.
Eric Davis.
ED.
Davis.
So we had like a well-established crew.
You had some seasoned vets in there.
Yeah, we did.
Jeremy, you a historian, ain't you?
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of a byproduct of the role, man.
Well, we had some cats, man, but we only went 7-9 that year. But we had some cats that could wobble, can play, man. And so we weren't like a laughing stock. We were always in the thick of things.
It was competitive.
Yeah, we were really competitive. But
I mean, when you look at the landscape of let's consider it now the conference, or I'm sorry, the division. Tampa was doing their thing.
Yes.
Atlanta was doing it, which you was just in
I was just there.
Right? So the division 2000 Saints, I can't really recall, but I mean, those two teams right there were two of the top in the league.
They were doing the thing,
time. I mean, they were doing it. So it wasn't like you were just showing up. I mean, that's 4 games off the schedule right there that you better bring your lunch pail.
Man,
right?
you better bring your lunch pail.
Was your expectations to be amongst the 13-3 football team, Carolina Panthers, when you played them in the playoffs in Green Bay?
Yeah. And so when I played them, and I was playing for the Green Bay Packers, they had a crew, and who really stood out to me a little bit was Muhsin Muhammad. Moose was like, I think that might have been his first year, but I can remember hitting Moose. I was like, dang it, man, this dude is solid, man. I mean, Moose is a big dude, big receiver. I'm like, but he's solid. I'm like, and I hit him, and I didn't let him know that it hurt, but I was like, dude, this dude's solid. So in my mind I had to hit him like that every single time because I gotta get after him, because if not, he's gonna beat me.
Yeah, because once you realize
Moose
a big joker, man.
Like, as far as like a player with the ball, you make contact and you feel it the first time, like, ooh, and you're gonna, all right, I gotta do it again, because if I let up, he's gonna know. He's going to know.
Absolutely.
And he's going to come harder and harder, right? And so it's the reverse too, right? So that's interesting. Have you ever told Moose that?
Oh, yeah. We were talking about it. I said, Moose, we were just sitting there talking and whatnot. I said, Moose, I remember hitting you coming across the middle, and I was like, I gave you like everything. I was like, dang it, man. I said, this dude is solid like a damn building, man. I said, this dude is, man, what is going on right here? And I said, I never let up. I was like, oh, I got to bring it every single time because this dude ain't no joke. And so that's just the mad respect I have for, like, here's the other thing. I've always respected the other guys and their craft on the other team when they were, like, at the top of their game. I was like, wow, I want to be considered at the top of my game like the Ronnie Lott. And I remember getting an interception that was one of my best interceptions ever. Man, it was sweet. Dude, I'm diving out and catching it and whatnot, and so I'm running it back. My boy Ronnie Lott was playing for the Raiders at this time, and as I got up, I ran it back maybe 30, 40 yards. This interception was crazy. And so he looked at me like this, and he's one of my favorite players. He looked at me, pointed to me like this, and gave me a thumbs up.
Wow.
And that was during the game, and I'm going like this going, man, Ronnie Lott don't even know We've talked about that moment.
What that mean
I said,
to
dude,
you?
you had no idea what that moment did for me and my confidence about what you thought about me.
That's special,
that's
man.
special.
That's special, man. I love it too because I mean, you outlining your story from your upbringing. I didn't know you had that, walk on. I didn't know you were a walk on. Didn't know that was your childhood, your high school career. Getting to, or I should say, going from being undrafted to being 13th all time career interceptions, right?
Yes, sir.
And a Hall of Fame nominee. With respect, man. Clap it up.
I appreciate that, dog.
Because we
Thank
got a
you
Hall
very
of Fame. Like, don't take that lightly.
Yeah.
I know your humility comes through the microphone here, obviously, and you're celebrating other people and giving people their flowers, man. But let us give that to you. And
Appreciate
I know you've
that,
been
dog.
on the list. You're entering the senior class now, right?
Yes, sir.
That ain't being funny. It's just what it is.
That's
right?
what it is. I'm
It's just
60,
what
I'm
it is.
61 years old, baby.
Which is, I mean, really for you just to be going in now, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it speaks to the length of your career, right? So, which for the viewers at home and listeners, you have to be removed from the game for 25 years or more to enter in the senior class, all the modern era, 25 years or less, right? So,
Yes, sir.
We have a good long list of former Panthers that are on that modern era list. A couple of guys that are semifinalists
That's right.
this year. We're polling
Steve
for,
Smith and Luke Kuechly.
that's right. We're polling for Smitty. We're certainly polling for Luke, being this is his first year as a first ballot. Let's hope that we get those guys across the line at Super Bowl this year. But to have a guy like yourself, to have the career that you have, man, to receive votes annually, man, it's special. It's special. And so that deserves to be recognized.
I appreciate
That
that,
deserves to
dog.
be called out, man.
Thank you.
But you landed here in Charlotte. You stayed here in Charlotte. I mean, you just outlined your career for us here, man. But what was the deal? What made you stay outside of ball, outside of the broadcasting and the media opportunities? Me and you have spent a lot of time on a golf course.
Yeah.
We got it with Leonard Wheeler. But Stu, have you ever golfed with Gino?
No.
I putted with him.
Okay, no, that don't count. That don't count.
Man, I heard Stu is amazing.
Look,
I'm
I'ma tell
doing
you
my
this.
homework on Stu, man. I'm like, man, Stu,
Yeah,
hit
we're
that ball.
gonna get on the
You
course.
see how he command his microphone? It don't stop on the
My
course.
bad.
He don't
Yeah.
need this.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're right.
He don't need this.
Oh, he got that chatter, huh?
Yeah.
Leonard literally has to be. Gino, shut up. Shut up,
Dude.
Gino.
It is so much fun
It
playing.
is nonstop.
It's nonstop when we get out there.
It's just
but
like
it's
a-
serious when we play in the game.
He's
It's
a
nonstop, though.
Yeah.
He's a DB.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gotta talk.
He can't help himself. He
That's
cannot
one thing.
help himself. What is it about defensive
don't know,
backs?
man.
Defensive backs, y'all
Cap-
talk too much.
Like, think about it, Captain
Cap talk.
Trey.
Yeah.
The only DB that I know that don't talk is
Who?
Chris Gamble.
Wow, Chris Gamble doesn't say a word. You're absolutely right.
And Jarris Bird.
You're right.
And Jarris
But the
Bird.
only thing with Jarris,
right.
Jarris will talk to you if you let him. But Jarris, if you leave him alone, hey, he won't bother you.
Man.
And so he mentions Jarris Bird, and I played against his
Gilbert.
dad, Gilbert,
Gil.
and Gilbert, one of the best corners / safeties.
Gil's one of the best
Man.
men in football.
And
Yeah.
No doubt, absolutely. And
Period. Point blank, man.
Yep.
I'll tell you about a Gil Bird
give me that
story
one.
later. I got
Oh,
it.
man.
We went through. I just got done playing. We went through an Athletes in Action training up in Xenia, Ohio, at the headquarters, and they had this big, this kind of like team building, this trust type of deal.
Yeah.
And it was a tree, like a high ropes course.
Oh.
My man Gil, he still got this photo. Every now and again, I'll just drop it to him. He got stuck up on that thing, shaking. Hey. But it's exhausting because the rope is
Because of the
moving.
ropes,
Look,
there's ropes,
he
right?
got his arms through it, and he just hanging there because he couldn't. He
Come on,
done
Gil.
tapped
Gil.
up, man. Yeah, I had
on,
to.
man.
Tap out, Gil.
Bird.
I ain't mad at you, dog.
I'll show you the photo. But I want you
my
to answer
dude.
the question. Here in Charlotte, like, what is it about the city, man? You've got to see the transformation from the time you've come. I mean, from 2000 to now, 20 plus years that you've been here. What is it? What's your
I think
affinity for
I
the
think it's a
city?
great place to raise a family. I think there's so much stuff that you can do culturally that's here. There's so much, I think, opportunity here. And then when I got here, Mr. Richardson welcomed me and the family as a Carolina Panther. And I had no idea what that did for me, but it allowed me to get reestablished in an area where nobody knew me. And because of that, it availed so many opportunities for me to go ahead and shake hands and network and connect. And that was all because, I'm telling you, Mr. Richardson just put an arm around me and said, I want you to come here. And I asked him too. I asked him seriously. I said, Mr. Richardson, I got to ask you this before you passed away. We had dinner. We went out to a lunch. I said, "Why do you want me on your team?" I said, "I don't really know you. You don't know me." One year he said, "I've always watched your career, Gene, and followed you." And I said that if I ever have a chance to have you play for me, if you ever come up, I want you to play for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that he had no idea what he was able to do. And I said, even when you knew I got arrested, even when you knew all the stuff, I said, even when you knew all that stuff that was militating and against me, where you can go ahead and take your hands off me because I don't want to deal with that, you want to go ahead and mess with me?
Mm-hmm.
That dude said, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. That's it, man.
Mm-hmm.
That dude said, yeah. I'll never forget.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I love this town? I got an opportunity. God gave me a new start. Gave me a brand new start. And I'm a high school coach. I'm coaching kids, and I'm coaching them in wrestling and track and football, and I'm helping them through the very most difficult, dark times of their life. I thought I would never have that type of ministry, man.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I would never even be a part of that. You know, you can easily become a pariah when you go through something that I did that was self-inflicted, that I've done, but that wasn't the case.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got to thank the Lord for the opportunity that I'm like, man, God, I don't get your grace and mercy, and I don't get your favor. But, man, thank you. Mm. Thank you, Lord, that you would allow Mr. Richardson to see me somewhat differently from just, I don't know, man.
That's awesome.
You know
that's awesome that you were intentional about your time with Mr. Richardson to gain that perspective. You know, like to know that deep down he saw something in you.
Yes.
Despite
me.
And I think that's where a lot of people need to get back to, man. Because I feel like a lot of people have never felt that. To where, you can be so vulnerable, right? In this business because you're a spotlight, right? And everything can be working for you at one point, and just one little thing can be working against you.
Yep.
But all it takes is for one to believe in you. Mm-hmm. And it just goes to, we're all men of faith here, right? And, that's really what God calls us to do, is to see the good in people, because it's in there, right? Because what Mr. Richardson was able to what he unlocked, what God allowed him to unlock in you, like, multiplied times 70.
Ripple effect,
right? So you just never know, listen, and Mr. Richardson was a man of God. And, when you're able to move, not on your own wisdom, but on God's wisdom, man, things can really, really, really happen for legacies. You talk about the Carolina Panthers and who they are now. Like, you're a part of that. Like, that's amazing.
And that's what we were
like
talking about.
If you weren't brought here, who knows what the culture would be like, as far as even your past career, like, and your effect in the locker room on guys like myself, Thomas Davis, and seeing, what it looks like to be a guy post football. Not just a guy, the guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, when the broadcasting thing, like me doing the podcast and tapping in, a lot of that is because of you. I see guys like you and like, man, he's doing something that he loves to do every single day. And it goes back to Mr. Richardson saying, I believe in that guy.
And here's the other thing, Jay, is that the community that you are head of and that you help to provide, you're doing more than just connecting guys. You're giving guys hope. You're allowing them to transition. You're allowing them to be seen. You're allowing them to go ahead and feel just one more time, just the applause, just one more time.
Yeah,
that's what's happening. So, man, if I can throw myself in that, if I can be a part of that, and just to help somebody along the way, man, I'm there, dude. That's why if you call me, I'm like this, oh, what do I got to do? What you need me to do?
Yeah.
You know, and if I get a call from any football players, I do the same thing. Like, my posture is what I need to do. If you need something to do, what you need me to do?
Yeah.
So I want to help and I want to do it.
Man, I asked that question with the foresight I really asked because your impact immediately when I got down here, right? Obviously, I do my research on guys, and I knew your name just from growing up and watching you play and whatnot, but your name kept coming up in the different circles. And Gino was here, or, you know, going to different events, or, you know, 2 years ago, man, and you were there. You were everywhere. You were just a guy, right? Your influence was magnified in the city. I could see it. And so to hear you give a little bit of backstory there with Mr. Richardson and the life that he spoke into you, man, got more than I bargained for.
Yeah, thank you, man, for sharing that.
I appreciate that, dog. No doubt.
It's special. It's special. And I think that this is, you know, kind of the premise of what we do this podcast, right? It's talking a little bit more about ball, but peeling back the mask, peeling back the veil, you know, whatever analogy you use, and finding out who the man is under the jersey, what this city means, what this club means, the impact that it's had, but mutually. And so you just delivered that for us, man.
I appreciate
special,
it,
man.
Thanks for having me on the podcast, man.
And before you go,
dog.
Just answer this for me. If you could describe in one phrase what football has meant to you, what would that be?
Football is not my identity. It's just what I do and what God has allowed me just to go ahead and love. My identity is in Christ. That's where my identity comes from. But football, it's way up there, and it's been a close second because it's allowed so many opportunities that I would never, ever have, and to change lives. Not only my life, my family, but my siblings, to change lives. So football has been, it's been a godsend.
Thank you for that, man.
No doubt.
Man, this was awesome.
I appreciate y'all, dog.
Sheesh.
I'm going to put my tent back in my mouth.
Get that tooth back in there, dog.
Come on, podcast, Matt.
Ladies and gentlemen, yet another episode of Stu and the Crew with the one and only Eugene Robinson. We appreciate you, brother. Thanks for joining us today, man.
No doubt. Thank you.